The following podcast is for the sole purpose of entertainment and at no time represents an attorney-client relationship or legal advice from the hostess or her guests. For legal advice, please contact an attorney in your area. Welcome to Winning at Divorce. Please join our hostess as she welcomes guests to sit down with a favorite beverage and take a look at the many circumstances, stages, and processes of divorce and provide empowering anecdotes and tips to assist you in winning back your life. Our beautiful and talented hostess, Michelle Gregory, is a practicing Indiana divorce attorney, mediator, entrepreneur, and coach. For more information about her services, go to www.hmichellegregory.com. So pull up a seat, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. And now, without further ado, here is the hostess of Winning at Divorce, Michelle Gregory.
Happy New Year! It's 2020, and this is Michelle Gregory. I'm your host of Winning at Divorce, and I am so lucky to be here today with you guys, my listeners, on my new podcast. I'm launching this January. It's going to be this great season. It's called Building Your Professional Team for Your Divorce. This is my very first episode, and I'm so lucky and honored to have my great friend here, Michelle Papp, who is a real estate agent here in Bloomington, Indiana. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
I'm so excited. So what I decided to do, since it's New Year's, we're going to have us a little toast. So we got us a little champagne.
Let's do it.
All right. So what do you want to toast to? Anything in particular?
Well, 2020.
2020.
For sure,
success in 2020.
Success in 2020. 2020 rolls off your tongue.
It does. It's a lot easier than 2019,
Right.
but it's 2020. All right. So
A successful 2020.
successful 2020, success to my new show, success to our friendship,
Oh, there you go.
success
Should have
to...
started with that.
Yeah, because we've been friends a long time.
We have.
We met having a cocktail. All right, cheers.
Carrying through.
Hey, that's not too bad.
It's kind of good.
Mm.
Take another.
It is good stuff, isn't it? I got these cute little bitty ones, though, just so we wouldn't overindulge. Michelle, I thought we'd start this first segment off just kind of talking about you a little bit. But I want to get into us talking about and discussing the importance of buying and selling homes while you're either considering a divorce or you're in the midst of a divorce or you've just finalized your divorce and you have your divorce decree and the decree is ordering people to do things. And for every case, I'm sure it's different. And you and I, we've bought and sold houses. We know all about that sort of thing. But for first-time homeowners who are going through a divorce too, they don't have a clue what to do, right? And divorce is scary.
Yes. And I would say first-time divorcees don't know what to do.
Exactly.
It's a home is most likely the biggest single purchase anybody's ever going to make.
Right.
And when you're tying that in with the divorce, it plays a major role in many of your decisions.
Right. And I'm going to have you talk about that, but first I want to hear about you.
Okay.
So if I remember correctly, and your husband spilled the beans on you a little bit, I hung out with him while you were at the show a couple weeks back, and he gets very chatty when he has a couple beers.
He's a friendly person.
He's a sweetheart. He was telling me that the two of you used to own some sort of company where you were builders and contractors. So tell me a little bit about that.
I will. I'll give you some history there. Okay, so Steve and I moved here when I say here, Bloomington, Indiana, in 1988, right after college. Mm-hmm. And we moved here for his job. He's a mechanical engineer. And when we got here, we started looking around and we started seeing that there was a lot of residential new construction going on. His background, his growing up, his childhood was construction. His father was a builder in Ohio. And so we came here and he immediately wanted to jump on this building train. I didn't have a clue. I'd never been around the industry. We were pretty newlywed. Let's see, we would have been married 3 years. Yeah. Newlyweds, we had 2 children, 2 little ones. And one day, all of a sudden, he's talking about building a house And I got sort of excited. He said, we're going to build it. And if it doesn't sell, we'll move into it. And I'm young, thinking, a brand new house.
Has he ever built a house before?
Well, like I said, he grew up in the industry with his father.
Oh, with his dad. Okay, I'm sorry.
He grew up in the industry with his father. I didn't know the first thing. And I had envisioned my role as being sort of the bookkeeper and maybe someone who runs the errands. And that's actually how I started out. His father moved here and lived with us for a few months he came down from Ohio to help us get started, to sort of teach us the ins and outs and how you go about building a home. I never, ever envisioned that this was going to become my life. However, I think the plan always was that we would do a few of these, and then if the business took off, then Steve would, not do his engineering job anymore, and we would both have this business. But what we realized after a short period, we did build a couple of homes, and I took on more and more responsibility. And I started learning the industry and the trade, and actually got to know the local subcontractors, got to know the vendors. Essentially, I became the builder. Oh. Unknowingly.
Wow.
Against my will. It wasn't really part of my plan. But yeah, one day I was just the person who knew everything about the industry.
Wow.
Not that Steve didn't, but it didn't make sense for him to quit his job and give up all those benefits. Yes. And I had really good benefits. It didn't make any sense for him to do that because I was now knowledgeable enough to sort of take it on myself. So that was, we built our first home in 1990. And by 1995, I was doing anywhere between 3 to 5, houses a year.
Oh, wow.
So I've actually, I don't know the final count, but it's somewhere around 70 or 75 homes I've built.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know all there is to know about houses.
Yeah. So that was my background. That was my introduction into real estate. Because I was the general contractor, and I worked, when you're a general contractor, you wear so many hats.
Yeah.
And I worked with realtors, but I also worked with lenders. I worked with vendors. I worked with subcontractors. I worked with developers of lots and subdivisions. So I learned it from the ground up.
Right.
And then I got my license in, it would have been 2002.
Did you just decide I'm going to be the real estate agent because I can do better? I get the extra commission?
It was definitely driven. It was a monetary decision.
Yeah.
I got my license, but I didn't practice in 2002. I had an agent hold it in referral. And when a license is held in referral, I got a commission off of that as a referral commission for each of my homes that I sold. So it just made more sense to do it that way. And the agent that I was working with, she was very knowledgeable. She was also from a construction background. So we got along really well. And I did it that way for many years. One of the main reasons that I built for as long as I did was because it gave me flexibility with my kids. So my third child was born in 1994.
So important as a mom.
You get that when we've had these conversations.
Yes.
Yeah, you need that.
You got to find a way.
You got to find a way. And they still need to get to volleyball practice, right?
Exactly.
So it gave me a lot of flexibility with the kids without cutting into weekends and evenings.
Yeah.
Because I was able to say, it's 5:00 and I'm done. And I was able to have those weekend and evening hours. However, the entire time that I was building, I was really, really drawn to the real estate side of it.
Oh, really?
I really knew I had a passion for that, but also knew that I couldn't do the evenings and weekends that were required when you're a real estate broker.
Right.
So
because that's when other people want to look at and look at their houses.
Yeah, and that's fair.
That's when they're off of work.
That's when they're available.
And that's when they want to come and look.
That's when they want to look. That's when they want to talk. That's when they want to meet. That's when they have questions and they're emailing and calling and texting you. And
and some of them are divorced people.
There you go.
Who are difficult.
Yeah. Well, and you also know, you have a daughter, evenings and weekends are
And you have
critical.
to make those boundaries as a mom. Yeah,
you do. My youngest graduated from high school in 2012. And it was then that I decided I was going to do real estate full time. I built my last home in 2012. And people ask me all the time, do you miss it? which is why probably why you didn't know until my husband mentioned it.
Yeah, you haven't said a word until Steve said something.
Yeah, probably because I don't miss the building part of it that much.
Is
there
it
were parts
tedious?
of it I loved. Yeah. So what it taught me was a lot about personality management, which I will say I have a master's in personality management that I received from building homes.
Wow.
Because when you think about it, again, I go back to it's one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make.
Right.
And generally, we weren't dealing with divorced people because when they're buying a new home, generally,
that's usually at the beginning of the marriage.
That's
or the
the
beginning of the
beginning,
relationship.
yes.
But a lot of times people are leaving one relationship and they're leaving the
dealing with
marital.
exes.
They're leaving the marital residence behind.
Yes.
And they're looking for a fresh start.
Right.
And so they're wanting something new. But that's not what you usually ran into.
That's not what I ran into when I was building. But I did learn a lot about personalities and that this industry in general, whether it's building or real estate, is really where emotion and business sense collide. It is building, buying, selling, and definitely divorce. It's all very emotional, but you have to keep a good business head at the same time.
Right. And so you've never been divorced.
I have not been divorced. My husband and I will be married 35 years in February.
We're going to want to hear the secret to that here towards the end. So
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put it out there right now.
Okay.
The secret is not that complex. The secret to staying married is not getting divorced.
And there you have it.
There you go.
You can't beat that, right? Just don't file. Don't come to my office.
There you go.
So once you got into real estate yourself, and you've been doing that for how long?
Well, like I said, I've had my license since 2002, but I've been practicing. I did both from 2007 to 2012, and I've been doing it primarily as my only occupation since 2012.
Okay.
So my history is
quite a while.
pretty long, but yeah, my actual full-time is, it's almost 2020, so 8 years.
Wow, that's great. So you've got plenty of experience. And so in that 8 years, actually, as a real estate agent, have you had couples that were in some stage or another in divorce?
I have. I have had a couple of cases where, luckily by the time I was working with them, they had worked through a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about. But there is definitely, there are things that everyone who's going through a divorce and has a piece of real estate wants to know, things that you should be aware of. And luckily, like I said, the couples that I worked with, they had already worked through many of those things with their divorce attorney and attorneys. So by the time they were talking to me, it wasn't as stressful a situation as it could have been. I believe the number one thing to keep in mind when you own a piece of real estate and you're going through a divorce is that you need to get everything settled. As many questions, as many of the decisions that you're going to have to make, you want to get those out of the way before you meet with your realtor. And I can go through those with you.
Right. No, that's great. So we'll get to that. That's a good idea. So is there anything else about your life, maybe some funny stories you want to share?
Funny stories. Well, I have lots and lots of stories. I don't know how many are appropriate.
Well, we can change the rating, if it's really juicy.
How
about we met? That was a funny story.
About
when you and I met.
Oh, yeah.
That's a funny story.
That was sort of funny. Well, I mean, Malibu's it's a popular place.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
Good food.
Made some good friends there.
Yeah.
I run into old friends. And that's where we met when I was sitting comfortably in my seat having my cocktail. I don't even think I was waiting on anything. I think I might have been there alone, just enjoying the general company. And the bartender quite gruffly ordered me to move to my left.
Get out of your
if
seat.
I was doing something. Yes, that's exactly what he did. He asked me to move out of my seat. So I did, and you sat down next to me.
Yeah,
he made
I had
room
no
for
idea
you.
any of this was going on.
He made room for you, and
Which is
I
funny.
was a little shocked.
Because I typically only would go in there like once every 6 or 8 months.
Right,
And so
you
I never
told me
saw
that.
or meet anybody. I didn't even know that he was concerned with my seating arrangements.
And I thought, well, she must be special. So we struck up a conversation.
Yeah,
And
we
we've
had
been
fun.
friends ever since. It's been
Yeah.
a few years now.
We've been having a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Had some good times.
Well, these are great stories. I think that brings us to the end of this first segment of getting to know Michelle Papp. Why don't you tell everybody how to find you if they
Okay.
want to reach out to you? Give
Okay.
them all your information.
Okay, so you can find me. My brokerage firm is Remax Claim Properties here in Bloomington, and you can find me at Michelle Papp at remax.com.
We'll be right back. This is Michelle Gregory. I am an attorney, a mediator, and a divorce coach. And if you want more information about me, you can go to my website, which I believe is in the intro. And don't leave. We've got more interesting things to talk about.
Thank you for listening to Winning at Divorce with your hostess, Michelle Gregory. This is not a breakup, it's just a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages from our generous sponsors.
Divorce is the most emotional and stressful time in anyone's life, and it is a global phenomenon that stretches across most cultures and backgrounds. Hi, I'm your Winning at Divorce coach, Michelle Gregory, as well as a divorce attorney, mediator, and entrepreneur. My coaching clients come to me to bridge the gap between their attorney and their therapist. As a divorce coach, I can assist you with planning, preparing, and winning at divorce. As Zig Ziglar once said, "You were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win." For more detailed information, visit hmichellegregory.com or call me at 812-339-3600 to get started on your journey towards winning at divorce.
Welcome back to Winning at Divorce, and thank you for staying tuned in with us. Don't forget to check out our website at www.hmichellegregory.com. And once again, here is our fabulous hostess, Michelle Gregory.
And we're back. And it's 2020, and this is Michelle Gregory, your host at Winning at Divorce. And today I have my winning friend here with me who's going to tell us how to win at selling your marital residence. So, Michelle, thank you again. And to all of our listeners, why don't you give us the basics of selling your home in a divorce? Because a lot of people are like, do I sell it before I file for divorce? Do I sell it in the middle? And if I do, how do I go about that? Or do I have to wait until I get a decree? So why don't you give us an overview how that process works for the person who's never sold their house before?
Okay, let's start with your first question. When? When do you sell a house? That is going to be primarily driven by the relationship that you have with your soon-to-be ex or your ex.
Yes, because that can be pretty tricky.
Yeah, and how are you getting along? And if it's something that's, well, and you're in the industry and you've seen it all.
Yeah.
If you're not getting along, my opinion or my suggestion would be is that you wait until later, until the decree's been issued, or until you can come to some resolution. The number one thing when you're selling a piece of real estate during a divorce is that you have to have very good communication. You have to have very good communication with your realtor.
And divorce people going through divorce, they're adversarial.
Right.
They're at the opposite ends of what they want, and they're not communicating well usually.
Which is why they're getting divorced.
Which is probably one of the main reasons, absolutely, why they're divorcing. Hint, hint. And they can't agree on anything.
They can't agree on anything. Yes, and this is where a qualified real estate agent can help.
Right.
One of the mistakes that divorcing couples make is that they choose someone who might be a friend.
Right.
That may work for you. It's not always the best idea to choose a friend. You want to have, much like an attorney, you want to have someone who's more neutral, someone that isn't going to communicate with one party more than they communicate with the other party.
Right.
My suggestion is to interview.
So who are you loyal to? Which party?
You actually, if I'm representing a couple that is selling their house, I don't have more loyalty to one than the other.
Even if one calls you and the other one doesn't?
Even if that's crucial.
Yes.
The communication has to be equal to both parties.
And so if
about
they're
everything.
emailing you and calling you, do you say, well, put that in email and copy the other spouse?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Every email, every text is screenshotted and sent to the other spouse because it's not going to get done.
Right.
It's not going to get done if one party feels like the other party has more information or has privy or has more access to the realtor, which I'm going to go back to. Yeah, maybe you pick a friend, but maybe you don't.
Do you have them disagree on what the asking price and selling price should be?
Absolutely. And my suggestion is that you want to take a look at a listing contract. You can download one online. You can have a realtor send you a blank one. But you want to get all of those things ironed out and agreed to prior to listing your home, of course, but also maybe prior to picking a realtor, so that by the time you're talking to that realtor, you're not arguing about the price.
Yeah.
You're not arguing about, does the washer and dryer stay or does it go? Or I think I want to sell the hot tub. You want to look at an actual contract, and it will help you understand all of the decisions that you're going to have to make once you get a offer, and once a purchase agreement is presented to you. A realtor, if they are truly a third party and not more loyal to one than the other, can also sit down and help you go through all of those things. Okay.
Do the attorneys need to be present?
Well, I think you sort of hinted to it a little bit ago. It might be best if they're not.
It's a little expensive.
It does get expensive, but also, personality management. A good real estate agent is going to probably be able to manage the conversations better if an attorney is not present to talk the legalese.
What do you do if they don't have attorneys and they just will not agree on anything? They won't agree on the selling price or the asking price, or, if they should take earnest money or what to do with earnest money. What do you do? What do you do?
What would I do personally?
Kick them out the door.
Yeah, no, I actually would. I would refer them to somebody like you and say, you actually need to be speaking with an attorney.
But they can't afford it.
But they can't afford.
What happens then?
Try again.
Yeah.
But I would probably speak with another realtor and see if we can't get like an appraiser to come in and talk to them, get a home inspector to come in and talk to them, make them look at it like a business decision that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so how important is a home inspector and an appraiser in selling a home?
A home inspector, not as much as an appraiser. An appraiser is key. So there are many instances in a divorce where the home is not actually sold, but one of the two spouses buys out the other. Most of the time, it's whoever has custody of children, if there are children involved. When there's a buyout situation, when one partner is buying out the interest of the other partner, you have to have an appraisal. I would suggest you have 2 appraisals. 3 if you can afford it.
Yeah,
but
it's a little pricey.
That does get expensive. But it's important that one party does not feel like the appraiser was favoring the other party. The person that is buying the home is going to want that appraisal to come in low.
Right.
Because they want
to pay less.
Exactly.
And the person who is keeping the house wants it to come in low.
Yes.
But the party who's wanting you to sell the house wants to come in high.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So this is where you get that, what do we do? What's the right price? This
is where having 2 appraisals helps. Before you get those 2 appraisals, you need to agree on how you're going to handle those 2 appraisals. Are you going to meet in the middle? Are you going to have both of them looked at by a realtor and have the realtor make the decision on the price? Are you going to have those appraisals looked at by the attorney? Maybe the attorney and the realtor meet together.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's a reason that you're having 2, and most likely that reason that you're having 2 is the same reason that you need to have an agreement ahead of time about what you're going to do with those
So
appraisals.
pretty much it's needed agreement.
Oh, yes.
We need to agree.
We need to agree.
Because if you don't
Before
agree,
you spend the money, otherwise the money's wasted.
The more you disagree, the more it costs you and the more it eats away your proceeds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're going to keep going back to a good real estate agent is going to remind you again that it is a business transaction, and as emotional as it can get, it's never going to get done if you don't take a step back and look at the business transaction part.
They have to take their ego out of it, take the competition
and
out
you're
of
more
it.
familiar with that.
It's like, oh my gosh, please, let's just move forward.
Right. Right.
That's excellent. So if someone's ready to, they finally come to some agreements, then what? What do they do next?
Okay, so it's selling a home while you're going through a divorce is not that complicated. It's more emotional, and that's what makes it complicated. But it's going to be not that different than if you're selling a home in a non-divorce situation. There are a couple of things that you do want to keep in mind. If you have one party that is more reluctant to sell, you need to have some agreements ahead of time about showings, about sabotage. You know, you could have one party who's living in the house and they aren't thrilled that the house is being sold, so they're not going to make the beds.
So the house is a mess.
There you go. Yeah. So you have to have some actual agreements on how that's going to be handled.
Is there also a need for decluttering and moving things out and trying to get the person who's not going to be living there or currently is not living there to get their things out?
Here's one thing that I think a lot of people do not take into consideration. If it looks like the home belongs to a couple who is getting divorced, it's not good for you as a seller, because a buyer will sense that maybe there's desperation there, and that the sellers might be willing to negotiate more.
Drop their price.
Exactly. So what you want to do is keep up those pictures, keep up your wedding pictures.
But just get all the junk out of there.
Get the junk out of it. And that's true when you're when you're selling all the, you want to stage it nicely. You want to, definitely
clean it.
Make it look like no one's living there, is what I tell people.
Spray for bugs.
The homes that look the best are the ones that look like no one is actually living there. Like,
like it's been staged.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you
and
can.
Do you help people do that?
Yes, actually I do. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. When I list a home, I have a professional cleaner come in and clean it right before the professional photographs.
Ah.
Yeah, and the photographers that I use are very good. They've got great eyes, and in fact, I just did one yesterday. It wasn't a divorce situation, but a bachelor who came home after the cleaning person had been there and the photographer had been there, and he started texting me, asking me questions like, where'd you put my toothbrush? Because we do a really good job of getting rid of, we have an eye that a homeowner might not always have, when it comes to clutter and things like that. But one of the things in the divorce situation that you do want to consider is try not, if you can, to move all of his clothes into another bedroom.
Well, sometimes they're already there.
Yeah.
That's why they come. That's why they show up in my office.
Take that into consideration when you are selling a home. Try to make it look as harmonious as possible.
Because it gives a pleasant vibe.
Exactly.
Because nobody wants to walk into that house and it feels like a war, a battle zone, strife, anger. Because people can pick up on that.
They absolutely can pick up on it. And you have many buyers who are bargain shoppers that are looking for something like that.
They want to know how long it's been on the market.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when they're fighting and disagreeing and can't get things done in time.
It's on the market longer.
Yeah. And what happens when it's on the market longer?
When it's on the market longer, it also makes a buyer feel like there's more room for negotiation. Absolutely. So you don't want to be fighting over a small amount, or you don't want to be fighting over whether the washer and dryer stay.
Right.
One of the things that you want to take care of up front is what you're willing to pay as far as, in commission. I will get that out of the way first.
And what are the options on that? So so someone says, okay, this is my first time. 4%, 5%, 6%, 8%. What is
commission is always negotiable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
even
no matter what company is?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Commission.
Okay.
There are a brokerage is allowed to set its own commission rate.
Okay.
Okay. Generally, it's left up to the individual real estate broker to do that. I don't know. I think there might be one or two here in our county that have set rates, but generally it's negotiable with your real estate broker.
Okay.
That being said, do not make that the most important thing when you're picking out a realtor. The most important thing is going to be communication.
Right.
And that realtor's ability to communicate with both
They
parties
return the
equally.
phone calls.
Yeah.
They return your emails.
They return your phone calls. They return your emails. They are sympathetic to both parties, but they're not favoring one party.
Right. No,
That's going to be important.
That's neutrality is
Yes,
very, very
it's going
important.
to be very important.
Right.
Yeah, so don't look at the commission as the driving factor in your decision, but you do want to make sure that that's agreed upon ahead of time.
Okay, well, great. This is wonderful. This is great information for all my listeners out there. I'm so happy to have Michelle Papp here again. Tell them how to reach you real quick.
Okay, yes, you can reach me at michellepapp@remax.com.
Yeah, so we're going to take a short break. So remember, if you agree, that means less stress, less attorney fees, quicker sell, bigger proceeds.
We always want the quick sale.
And we'll be right back with Michelle on Winning at Divorce.
Thank you for listening to Winning at Divorce with your hostess, Michelle Gregory. This is not a breakup, it's just a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages from our generous sponsors.
Hello, I'm Michelle Gregory, your Winning at Divorce coach. Divorce is the most difficult and challenging time in a person's life. Regardless as to whether the divorce is your idea or not, the process can be very frightening, stressful, and overwhelming. You don't have to go through it alone. A divorce coach can assist you whether you just need a support person to vent or help you to identify your desires, set your goals, make plans to achieve your goals, implement your plans, or direct you to the right professional so that you can win at divorce. For more information regarding how my coaching services can help you, visit hmichellegregory.com or call me at 812-339-3600 to get started on your journey towards winning at divorce.
Welcome back to Winning at Divorce, and thank you for staying tuned in with us. Don't forget to check out our website at www.hmichellegregory.com. And once again, here's our fabulous hostess, Michelle Gregory.
And we're back, and it's 2020, and it's Michelle, my friend, the real estate agent here in Bloomington, Indiana, and she's been giving us the most amazing stories and tips on how to deal with a divorce situation and selling your marital residence. And we're calling this episode Winning at Selling the Marital Residence. So go ahead and give us you said during break you had a couple more really great tips and things that you wanted to share with our audience.
Well, I was thinking about some of the technical things. One of the things that you're going to want to do right away, and it seems very obvious, but maybe it's something worth pointing out, take a look at your deed. Make sure your name's on that deed.
Oh.
A lot of people, if you've been married for a long time and maybe when you bought the house, it was years ago, and maybe you didn't care if your name was on the deed at the time, but that's something that you definitely want to do. It's easy to do. You can go down to the courthouse and take a look at it. Your tax card can be pulled up online. So take a look at that and find out, not only find out if your name's on the deed, but you can also look at simple things like the appraisal value is not the same as your tax value. The tax assessment value.
The appraisal value is a lot
higher. Yes, yeah. But at least know what the assessment value is on your property. Do some research on your own, which is easy to do online. Stuff that you probably didn't think about or care about prior to going through your divorce.
So we finally get some agreements. The house is on the market. They're showing. You've got some people nibbling at it. You've got an offer. What do you do next?
What you do next is you take a look at the offer that's presented to you and you read it carefully. Your agent is going to do a very good job of explaining the offer and everything that's in it, but you want to read it so that you understand what's going on.
But there's a lot of small print and a lot of stuff that's not.
There is some small print. It's boilerplate, and if you've bought and sold, which most couples have done once or twice, you think, I've got this, I know what I'm doing. The last thing you want to do is be sitting at that closing table and say, hold on, I didn't realize this about the offer. I didn't know we were offering a home warranty. No one told me. Little things like that. I didn't know that they asked for a survey. So always read that purchase agreement.
So whatever's on the purchase agreement shows up later.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to show up somewhere. Yes.
So after the purchase agreement.
After the purchase agreement is done and everyone has signed off, the steps that are going to happen is an inspector is going to come inspect the house.
And who picks that inspector?
The inspector is the buyer of the home. The buyer of the home is hiring an inspector.
So they can pick anybody they want?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That's the buyer's choice. They have to be licensed.
Okay.
They have to be a licensed inspector. But that's going to happen within the first few days. So at that time, take a look around your house. Make sure that there aren't anything, if there's something that you know about that you should have fixed,
some repairs,
a faucet or something, get that done. Make sure if you haven't, probably up to this point, you've been pretty consumed with this divorce and you haven't thought about that leaky faucet or that running toilet.
Well, people's emotions are high.
Yeah,
and they're stressed out.
Yes.
And their lawyers are nagging them. And
take a couple of, take a breath, look around, make sure that there's nothing obvious out there that inspector is going to catch. And if they do catch it, don't stress.
But be upfront about it.
Be upfront about it. And I tell everybody, depending on the price point of their home, plan on spending money on repairs to your house. It doesn't matter. I know you have a great house. I know you've taken really good care of it. That inspector is going to find something.
Well, everybody has their own opinion what taking good care of is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I tell my sellers generally plan on spending between $500 and $1,000 or giving $500 to $1,000 worth of concessions on your home.
And is that in the buyer-seller agreement?
Yes, there's a process for that, and your real estate agent will walk you through that. It's a negotiating process that comes after the negotiating process of agreeing on price.
And what about the closing costs?
The closing costs,
agreeable?
Those you can get those if you need to know those ahead of time, which I would imagine in a divorce situation you're going to need those. Those are easy to get a hold of. You just ask your real estate agent. They will get those from the title company for you so that you'll know ahead of time prior to you getting your settlement statement. The settlement statement's going to come. Okay, so let's assume your buyer's great and they've got great credit and their appraisal has come in great and the inspections have all been decided on and they've moved through their loan process pretty easy. It's going to be not until 3 days prior to your closing that you're going to see your settlement statement. You're going to, most likely in a divorce situation, you want to know those numbers ahead of time because you guys are splitting things up and you're trying to figure out who's getting what.
They want to know who's getting the check.
Yeah, that's where your real estate agent can help.
Yeah.
Your real estate agent can call the title company. They can get those closing costs, estimated closing costs, but they're going to be very, very close. And you're going to know ahead of time what you're getting and what those costs are going to be, what your final walkaway number is going to be.
You'll know that before you go into closing.
Before you go into closing, yes.
Because I know I've been to closing. I don't know, not everybody has. And my gosh, I think they cut down a tree to provide the paper for that because it was like this high. And they walk through every single piece of paper and you're just like in a daze, like, oh my God, please stab me in the eye, get this over with.
Contact your real estate broker. They've been to many, many, many closings.
Yeah.
They can walk you through all of that prior to you getting to that closing table. The other thing that can be done is if things are not that amicable between you and
Too much
your
champagne?
soon-to-be or your current ex. Not both parties need to be at that closing table. There's a couple of ways that can be handled. You can do a mail out where they mail the package to you. Everyone signs and you mail the package back
from a notary or something?
From the notary. It has to be notarized. It can be handled that way. You can have a closing where people show up at different times. One person signs.
Then that's really excellent to know because a lot of times I've had cases where there's domestic violence and the last thing in the world they want is to be in that same room sitting next to their abuser and signing these very important papers and trying to concentrate.
Tell your real estate agent they can make arrangements so that you don't have to be in the same room at the same time.
That's wonderful to know.
And if you're okay being in the same room at the same time, just make sure that everyone has seen all of the numbers prior to walking in there so there are no surprises.
Now, sometimes people, buy a house and it's Mr. and Mrs. and sometimes it's just Tom and Sue. Is there a difference there?
Yeah, that's more of a question for an attorney.
Okay. Like with the title company or something?
With the title company, yeah. If it's Mr. and Mrs. versus their first names, that's something that can be taken care of with the title company prior to you getting to
But that doesn't change their getting their portion, whatever that is, what has been agreed on.
No.
Okay.
The one thing that you do need to take into consideration, if there has been a decree, if the judge has already ordered a divorce decree and it specifies in there who gets what and what percentage of the sale of the home goes to each party, that cannot be changed at the closing table.
So it's a good idea to have it with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, what will happen is the title company, when they do their title search, they will find that decree.
Oh, they look it up themselves.
The title company will already know.
Okay.
So that those numbers are already going to be split and the checks are already going to be cut according to that decree.
Okay.
Do not expect to go into closing and say, "Oh, we had a side agreement, and she now owes me, $500 more. Can you take that out of her proceeds?" The title company cannot do that. They have to abide by the decree that was filed at the courthouse. So keep that in mind.
Is it ever where they say, "Okay, here's the checks, but I'm sorry, we can't give them to you. We have to give them to your attorneys to put them in trust"?
Again, that's going to go back to the decree, the divorce decree. Yeah, the title company is going to strictly abide by that.
And if they're in the process of getting a divorce and there's earnest money prior to going into closing, what happens with the earnest money? Where does that go?
Now, you're talking about the earnest money that's coming from the seller.
That's coming from the buyer.
Oh, coming from the buyer. Yeah, that automatically goes on the settlement statement.
Does it go into the real estate agent? Does it go to...
The way, and this is whether it's a divorce situation or not, the way that that works is when a buyer makes an offer on a home, the earnest money is what bona fides the purchase. So an offer has to have some sort of money or some sort of valuable to make it a bona fide transaction. The money goes into the listing broker's escrow account. So that money, at the time of closing, comes from the listing broker. So the listing broker brings the check to the closing, and then it's figured into the settlement statement from the title company.
Okay.
So that money never touches anyone's hands.
Right.
It's never available to anybody else except for the listing broker. It's in their escrow account, and then it goes directly to the title company.
And then that all gets sorted out at closing.
Yes. Yeah. That's not something that either party needs to deal with. That's not something that needs to be negotiated.
Is there anything else that you feel is relevant, important to helping warring spouses, sell their home, win at it, because they want to win. Everybody wants to maximize profits, and everybody wants to get it done as quickly as possible and get the most out of it they can. So is there any other last tips that you might have?
Outside of it being, and I've said this twice already, but outside of it being the biggest purchase that most people will make, it's also, there's a lot of sentimental value to a home.
Yeah, my kids grew up here.
There's a tree house in the backyard.
I've got their measurements marked on the wall.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. You have to recognize that. You have to recognize it for what it is. And if you truly do want to sell the house, if both parties truly do agree that that's the best way to move forward, then you need to understand that there are other homes out there. As far as advice, I'm just going to keep going back to find a real estate agent who is really good at communicating.
Yeah.
That isn't going to pick one party over the other. And keep it as non-emotional, as hard as that is, as you possibly can. And just, there are other homes out there, and you're going to move on, and
they're going to find something new.
You're going to find something
create new memories.
New, yeah.
Get a fresh start.
Right. And I know this is about winning at divorce. It's not about winning at who gets the most out of selling their
And that's
house.
one of our things we believe here at Winning at Divorce.
Yeah, it's not about that.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. That was wonderful. I appreciate it so much. So will you tell our listeners one more time how they can find you?
They can find me at michellepapp@remax.com.
Oh my gosh, this has been too much fun for Michelle and Michelle, and I wish we could just keep on going, but this is a new year, and we've got plenty of cool things to do. You got a New Year's resolution yet?
I don't have one yet. Can I share a little thing? Because I've said this over and over. The more people I tell, the more it's going to motivate me to do it.
You put it in the universe, so it'll happen, right?
It's going to happen. I got to put it out there. I'm going to try to actually win my first 5K. I've got one in April in mind. So the more people I tell, the more I have to stick to it. So there it is. It's out in the universe.
You're going to do it. You heard it.
That's my New Year's resolution. I'm going to win one this year.
She's going to win. First place. Well, you did real good that last time.
I've been doing better.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been doing better.
Would you get like 5th or something?
6th. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but...
Yeah, you got to be proud of yourself no matter what.
I age up right before this race, so I'm going to be the youngest in my age bracket. Cheating a little.
That's the secret for a marathon. Well, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you to all the listeners out there and for tuning in for us, and I look forward to giving you guys stories and tips and working with you and helping you win at divorce. This is Attorney Michelle Gregory. I'm a mediator and I'm a divorce coach. And if you need my help, give me a call. Other than that, we're out of here and we'll see you next time.
This has been Winning at Divorce, a podcast to empower and assist you through the divorce processes and stages using stories and tips. We hope this podcast has shed some light on the main concerns that people face when going through a divorce. And remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. If you need assistance, please seek professional advice from a licensed attorney or other professionals in your area. For more information about our services, please visit www.hmichellegregory.com.
Hello, I'm Michelle Gregory, your Winning at Divorce coach. Divorce is the most difficult and challenging time in a person's life. Regardless as to whether the divorce is your idea or not, the process can be very frightening, stressful, and overwhelming. You don't have to go through it alone. A divorce coach can assist you whether you just need a support person to vent or help you to identify your desires, set your goals, make plans to achieve your goals, implement your plans, or direct you to the right professionals so that you can win at divorce. For more information regarding how my coaching services can help you, visit hmichellegregory.com or call me at 812-339-3600 to get started on your journey towards winning at divorce.